Hello, YouTube family. This is Nzali with Nzali Takes Africa, and I'm back with another video for you. If you are a Black millennial woman looking to live, to work, or to play on the African continent, then this is the channel for you. All right, so today we know that Dirty December was here. And Dirty December is slowly making its way out. And now we are in what we call in Ghana, the year of January. January, for most of us who live in Ghana, can be a very financially straining time because we've spent all of Dirty December having a good time with you all who are coming from the diaspora. And now we got to get back to reality. So for those of you who really have an interest in living in Ghana, today I'm going to talk about 3 budget busters. Things that you have to make sure you pay very close attention to so that you don't go over budget and that you don't find yourself in a financial strain. All right, so if you're ready, go ahead and like. Make sure you also comment and subscribe and get ready for this video. So when we're talking about budget busters, there are 3 that I'm going to highlight today that I think really impact millennials when we come to live in Ghana and also on the African continent as a whole. The very first one, I know this one is going to sound familiar. I know you just got finished doing this in December in Ghana, and that is enjoyment. I am the enjoyment minister in Ghana. I love to have a good time. Ghana is the best place to do so. You have beaches, you have mountains, you have natural sites, you have the city life, you have clubs, you have bars, you have everything that you can think of, right? Concerts, everything. However, enjoyment costs money, right? And so if you are not paying very close attention to your budget and how much you're going out, then you will definitely find that you're spending way more money on enjoyment than you are on the practicalities of your life while living in Ghana. And remember in my other video when I talked about me almost going broke after my first year? A big part of that was because of enjoyment, and also not really knowing the money system. So I would encourage you to make sure you check out that video, and I'll actually put a link in the top so that you can also have a little bit more understanding of what those practicalities look like. So yeah, the very first one on this list is spending too much time on enjoyment, going out to eat, going to too many parties, being at every function, always being on the scene. That costs money, and a lot of people who are repatriates or expats, they end up going to the higher priced places because it feels like home, right? So you're going to the place that you feel most comfortable, the place that is most familiar to you and how you like to have a good time. Well, those places tend to come with the expat price that may not be so good if you're trying to stay here long term. So one of the tips that I would give you for that is to set up a monthly budget. Like, I'm going to go to 3 or 4 events this month. That's my maximum. I don't want to spend over this amount of money doing those type of things. Also, I would encourage you to find more localized spots. Oxford Street in Osu is not the only place in Accra that you can have a good time. Accra is not the only place in Ghana that you can have a good time. So look at more localized options for your enjoyment, and then you'll also see a decrease in how much you're spending for that. All right, so number 2, another budget buster for those who are actually living in Ghana is, can I get a drum roll? Transportation. Okay, it costs a lot to get around on an everyday regular basis, right? Petrol is not cheap. Our petrol prices go up and go down relatively a lot, right? And so when those prices go up, and when I say petrol, I mean gas for those of us coming from the States. So the petrol prices go up and down. Really, I don't think it's a pattern to it. The economists might say that there's a pattern, but it goes up and down a lot. So what does that mean? That means that those who are filling up the trotros, filling up taxis, filling up Ubers, and your own personal cars, you're spending more, which means that prices will go up. So if you're a person who's Ubering everywhere, Uber's prices are going to go up. Or also we have Bolt. If you're bolting everywhere in Ghana or in Accra or the spaces where they have those apps working, then you're spending a lot of money getting around. Like, I know from where I live to the airport used to be roughly like 25 cedis, 30 cedis. During the holiday season, it jumped to over 60, 70 cedis. Like, that was the range. And I was like, that is totally crazy. Like, that's ridiculous. Right? So if you're a person that's going around, be very careful and monitoring how much you're spending on transportation, because it will get away from you. You know, those apps also charge you when you're in traffic. So as you're sitting in that Accra traffic, if you're in Accra, that meter is kind of like going and it's adding to your price. So that's something you want to pay attention to. Taxi prices also go up when petrol goes up. And then if you're a person who is driving, then of course you will feel it immediately, because you see how much you're spending, or the difference in what you're spending when the prices go up. So one tip that I would want to give you for monitoring your transportation is, number one, take taxis more than you take Ubers, and not just any taxi. In Ghana, we have something called a shared taxi, where you can get like multiple people in a car and you all pay like a set price, and all of you are going in the same direction, and you just hop out where you need to hop out. Now, that will require that you are more familiar with the city, but as you become more familiar with the city, you'll learn those taxi stops, right? And those taxi ranks that you need to go to. So I encourage taxi share so that you can decrease how much of your individual Ubers that you're taking, and that can bring your price down. The second thing I would suggest when you're trying to monitor your spending on transportation is to carpool. When you live in Ghana, you'll notice, like I work in Ghana, a lot of people will ride in a car together. So let's say all of us live in Achimota. I'm just giving that as an example. Then let's say one person will drive this day and 3 people will get in the car. The next day, maybe someone else in the area will drive. So you can use that as a means to get around. Ghanaians do it all the time, especially those who work in the same spaces. And you should also use it as well. And I think the last thing that I would encourage for those of us who are driving, like I drive in Accra. So for those who are driving, just kind of monitor what type of car you're purchasing. I know sometimes we want to flex, we want to get the big SUV, we want to feel like a big madame, something like that, but get a smaller car. There's a reason that all the Ubers in Accra and other parts of Ghana are those little compact cars. It's because it doesn't take up a lot of petrol. So for your first car in Ghana, I would encourage you to get one that doesn't burn out a lot of fuel, so that you can save money on your monthly budget for transportation. All right, now let's get to the last one that is a budget buster. And that one would be internet. Internet is not the same in Africa as a whole, right? In Ghana, you're paying for your usage. It's very rare that you find like a unlimited plan how you would in the States, where you pay a certain fee and you have unlimited high speed, well-functioning internet. That is not the case. We pay per usage, right? So internet, if you're a person who likes to stream, if you're a YouTube person like myself, if you're someone who really, you work online, maybe you're a remote worker and you do a lot of things online, the internet is going to run you some money. Like, it's not going to be cheap for you, especially if you want good performing, high speed, quality internet. So that's something that you want to definitely think about. So what I encourage people to do is to have 2 things. Number one, you have internet for your phone, but you should take advantage of those weekly bundles, daily bundles, all of that type of stuff. The best thing that I learned was how to utilize the bundles from some of my Ghanaian coworkers, because that's how you're able to get some of those really good internet packages for a lower rate. So for your phone, use the internet bundles from your network provider, where it's MTN, Vodafone, Airtel, Tigo, whichever one you want to use. Personally, I use MTN, but people use all sorts. I believe that, I want to say it's like Airtel. I think Airtel has better bundle packages, but don't quote me on that, because I haven't used Airtel. I've only heard it by hearsay. However, you also want to make sure that your internet provider has good coverage. So that's why I like to use MTN. Because of the nature of the work I do, I travel throughout the country a lot, and I need to be able to have access to internet and phone services no matter what part of Ghana I go to. So that's why I use MTN. And also, I was familiar with MTN because when I was in South Africa, I use MTN, so it was a familiar name to me, and I just went with that, and it's been working out. Now, you have that package for your phone. The next one you want to do is think about your house. If you're a person who works remotely, which I have worked remotely in Ghana before, and you need a fireband, or I think that's what they call it, fireband wired internet provider that'll really work for you. Now, I've used two. I've used MTN and I've used Vodafone, actually three. I've used MTN, I've used Vodafone, and I've used Ghana Wi-Fi. MTN does work well. It's just a little bit more costly than some of the other ones. So I think I was spending around like 200 to 300 CDs for, and that one is unlimited. It's wired, or technically it's not unlimited. There's a certain amount, but it's so much that you'll never actually use it. So that one was a little bit more expensive. Vodafone is what the school that I was assistant principal at, that's what we used during the COVID time when we were running virtual lessons, but just the teachers were reporting to school. Vodafone was actually pretty good, but then it just slowly started to decline in its like customer service. So it was like when you were having little issues, it was really hard for you to like get in contact with people and for them to give you an actual solution. So the third one that I used at my home personally was Ghana Wi-Fi, which is a local company, and they were pretty good for a while. And then I think as they got more people on the system, especially in my area, it kind of went down a bit. But for about a good 2 years, Ghana Wi-Fi did really well for me, and it might do well for you depending on the area that you're in and how many people are tapping into their system. So once you have a place in your house that is like wired for you, then you can get really good internet, and those places usually have like a monthly amount. When I did Ghana Wi-Fi, it was 200 CDs a month, unlimited basically. MTN was between 200 to 300. I don't remember how much the Vodafone was at the school that I worked at, and I'm sure they had a school package. But either way, so let's just say you're budgeting between 200 to 300 CDs that you would spend to have unlimited access, or such a high amount of internet that you don't use it in a month, right? So that's one that I would use for the house. That way you kind of have it in your mind. I'm going to spend $250 on my internet in my house, and I'm going to budget my monthly or weekly bundles for my phone when I'm not in the house, and that way you have a more controlled internet pricing that you can work with and that you can kind of monitor as the time goes. So again, this is the year of January, and I know it can be hard for all of us who are living in Ghana because it just seems like it takes forever. But again, those of you who are looking to move here, those are the three things you want to pay a lot of attention to. Those are the holes in the basket where your money can just drain, and you'll look up and be like, what happened to my money? So again, watching your enjoyment factor, watching how much you spend on transportation, and also watching how much you spend on internet. Those three things will really help you get a grab on your budget, and really help you have more of a financially stable time while you're living in Ghana and really all over the African continent. So until next time, I will see you later. Bye-bye.
One day, every day will be Friday, no.